My name is Terje Arven, and I'm Professor of Risk Assessment and Risk Management at the University of Stavanger, Norway. I often ask people working with risk, what is your field, your science and discipline? I hope they say something about risk, but what I say is, I'm a sociologist, I'm a statistician, an engineer, economist. I myself has a background in probability and statistics, but my field is risk. This is important for me. We have professorships in this area. We have master programs, PhD programs, scientific journals and conferences. It's actually a well-defined area. But not so many people know what this area is all about. The risk field is broadly and simply about two main categories of activities. A. Studies and management of specific activities, like the operation of an offshore installation or a financial investment. B. Generic, general risk practices and research. How to conceptualize, understand, assess, characterize, communicate, manage risk. The B part influences the A part, but we also have the other way around, that the A part influences the B part, as we will see later. This is an offshore installation where oil and gas is produced. There is risk associated with this activity. Fire and explosion may occur, leading to loss of lives and oil spill and environmental damage. We may question, is the risk too high? Should we reduce the risk? And how much? And in what possible way can we reduce the risk? These are questions that are not straightforward to answer. And to answer them, we need competence in risk assessment and risk management. But we also need other type of experts, like process engineers and people with experience, operational experience, to be able to answer these questions. Now, how should we carry out these studies and this management of risk? The risk field has developed some recommended practices for how to do these studies and this management. And these are subject to continuous scrutiny to be able to improve and develop these studies and this management. And this is what the generic general part B is about. For example, when asking about the offshore installation having too high risk, what do we mean by that? Too high. How do we decide what is too high risk? These are complicated questions, and to answer them, we need competence in risk assessment and risk management. Of course, all areas need tailor-made methods and procedures. But there is something generic that applies to all areas. Going back to the question about what is risk? If we're going to manage risk, we need to understand what we're going to manage. And it doesn't make sense to have one definition and one understanding for each application when we're facing the same type of question. Let me give an example from my own experience and research. It demonstrates that a concrete study can influence the generic risk research part B. Many years ago, I worked in an oil company. Together with some colleagues, I conducted a risk assessment of an offshore installation. The risk was presented in this way, using consequences and probability. And we concluded that the risk was high and measures were required to reduce the risk. This was an example of A, study and management of a specific activity. But it turned out that it also had implications for the generic general research part B. I was challenged by one of the top managers of the company when presenting the results. He was questioning me, Arven, what is the meaning of these numbers? And what about uncertainties? Is risk properly reflected by these numbers? These were good questions in my view, because the company were going to use a lot of money, partly based on this risk assessment. The problem was me. I could not give a convincing, strong answer to these basic questions. And I said to myself, I have to do something about it. And this created a need for basic research. And the questions that I've been working on since then, how to best understand and describe risk, and how to deal with uncertainties in risk assessment and risk management. The work on a specific risk assessment, has led to developments also in B, the generic risk research. And over the years, these developments have resulted in improved practice and influencing the A part, how to do the risk assessment. Here are some other examples of issues that the risk field face, the generic risk research part. Does there exist a best way of dealing with risk for individuals, for companies, for society? And how should activities be best regulated in order to balance developments and risk? To summarize, the risk field is mainly about two categories of activities. A, studies and management of specific activities. B, generic general risk research and practices. How to conceptualize, understand, assess, communicate, and manage risk. We have seen examples of A and B and how they interact. I stress that these are just examples, strongly influenced by my own interest and work. Yet I hope that they have given you some insights into what the risk field is about. The risk field is challenging, but also fascinating. What attracts me is the complexity of the key concepts like risk and probability. And also the fact that we would like to reduce risk, but also increase risk to obtain something. So risk management is basically a balancing act, trying to balance development on the one hand and avoiding disasters, failures, errors and accidents on the other. You're welcome to join the risk field with links to A or B. Your contributions are important to strengthen the scientific basis and pillars of this area. It's a young field with a potential for exciting and pioneering scientific work.